All right, let's check out the TWAB. From Cosmo, this week at Bungie, we start shaking up the sandbox. Welcome to the TWAB. We've got a lot to cover today, so I'm going to skip the small talk and get into it. Yesterday, assistant game director and mustache enthusiast Joe Blackburn went out on Twitter and talked about some of our upcoming plans. Great thread by Joe Blackburn, guys. If you haven't read it, go follow the thread. There's a link to it in the TWAB. Go check it out. Please give the whole thread a read. TLDR. The main thing we want everyone to know is that we have a plan. It's going to take some time, and we're excited about the future of creating a more consistent delivery of PvP content each year. The best of our ability. Our teams have been hard at work putting together a lot of changes for next season. We decided to break out upcoming sandbox changes into 3 parts. This week, we're covering abilities. Next week, we will talk about armor and mods, and then we will touch on weapons during the final week before the end of the season. Here is the combat gameplay director, Eric Smith.
Welcome to the VIP section of the Diamond Club, player. My name's Uncle. We got emotes and sub badges. Come on.
Thank you, That Eagle, for the prime. Welcome to the VIP section. Let's get some sub hype in the chat. Here's combat gameplay director, designer, Eric Smith, to give you the rundown on how your Guardian's abilities will be evolving next season. Eric Smith, hey Guardians! We have been hard at work on abilities balance patch for season 15, but before we get into the balance changes, here's some info about a quality of life change debuting in season 15. Separate melee actions. Yes! Yes! Thank you! I don't even need to read anymore. I don't even need to read anymore. Why keep reading? Does it get better? Have you ever tried to throw a knife at an approaching scream only to instead lunge forward and slap the scream in its gross exploding face? Have you ever accidentally wasted your hard-earned melee charge on a sad lone dreg? If so, there's hope. Introducing separate melee actions. Starting next season, you'll be able to bind your charged melee attack and your uncharged melee attack to separate inputs, giving you greater control of when you use your ability. This is an opt-in feature, and these new abilities will be unbound by default. When you go to customize your controller, you'll see the following new entries in the action list. Auto melee is the new name for the melee action that you're used to. Your melee is context sensitive, and its behavior will change based on your equipped ability and your proximity to enemies. It usually does its job well, but it occasionally betrays player input. Charged melee is a new action that will always activate your charged melee ability upon button press, regardless of whether an enemy is in lunge range. Pressing the input when your melee ability is not fully charged will perform no action and cause the melee ability icon to flash red, similar to how the grenade ability works. Uncharged melee is a new action that will always activate your uncharged melee even when your charged melee ability is fully charged. It's fairly straightforward, but here are some things to note. Melee attacks trigger as soon as the button is pressed, not when it is released. Melee attacks don't wait to see if you're still holding the button before starting. This means you can't set any of the melee actions to a long press or double press input. Game controllers have limited number of inputs, so you may need to get creative with how you map your controls. Personally, I like to put charged melee on RBR2 and uncharged melee on right stick click R3. This doubles up the finisher and uncharged melee actions on right stick click R3, which will prioritize finishing enemies over meleeing them if the enemy is in a finishable state. If you access the charged melee and uncharged melee to the same input, it will always prioritize the charged melee over the uncharged melee, which is the opposite behavior of the auto melee action. To use these new actions on keyboard mouse, open the setting menus, click keyboard mouse. Yeah, of course. To use the new actions on the controller, open the settings menu, go on controller, button layout, custom scroll down, melee charge, yada, yada, yada. Boom. Love it. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Long-term ability plans. Last season, Sandbox lead Kevin Giannis laid out our vision for how we see subclass abilities fitting into the Destiny 2 sandbox moving forward. Our philosophy for ability design is that abilities should complement the core combat of Destiny, but not dominate it. It should enhance the game's gunplay, but not replace it. The changes we're introducing in Season 15 will help set the stage for those larger systemic ability changes. In the coming seasons, we'll be focusing on adjusting how often abilities can be used in the Crucible specifically. Please stay tuned for more info about that. Season 15 Ability Balance Pass. For Season 15, we've prepared a slew of balance changes to raise up underperforming subclasses and tone down overperforming subclasses. Without further ado, here are the ability changes we'll be making in Season 15. Okay. General ability, Stasis Freeze. Okay, Uh-oh, what's happening? It's about to get spicy. Stasis Freeze. The goal of these changes is to make being frozen by stasis less frustrating. Thank you. Previously, players who were frozen in the air had to wait until they hit the ground to start the breakout process. Additionally, we've shortened the window of vulnerability between breaking out of the stasis encasement and losing the damage resistance it provides, and getting back to weapon ready so you can fight back. Frozen players can now initiate breakout while airborne, shorten breakout animation and camera transition. This means that once you decide to break out, you'll be able to fight back sooner. Differentiated long freeze and short freeze visual treatment to make each status easier to identify. Okay. Sounds like being frozen will be less frustrating. Slide. The goal of this slide change is to slightly reduce the effectiveness of sliding into engagements to gain the upper hand. Even after the shotgun changes we made last season, sliding into every engagement with a shotgun or any weapon is still incredibly effective, and running gun playstyles are very low risk. This is a change that looks scarier on paper than it feels in practice, in our opinion, and we'll continue to monitor how it plays out. While sliding, players now incur the following weapon penalties: minus 20 stability, plus 15% shotgun pellet spread, and 1.5 flinch. Whoa! Whoa! Are we going to be able to walk around corners? Ooh-wee! People are not going to like that. People are not going to like that. Oh my gosh. And that's going to make slide shot and slide ways like incredibly vital to have. People start farming those now, people. Mark my words. Flawless said it first. Nah, you're probably right, Clean Plays, because people are just going to camp now. Wow. All right. Titan. Rally Barricade. What are they doing to Titans? Hopefully they're nerfing them into the ground. They can all kick rocks. Sorry, Titans. I love you. Rally Barricade. This Barricade variant doesn't see much use, so we've made changes to make it a more viable option. Oh, the Rally. That's the reload. It retains the same reload speed benefits as before while adding other weapon buffs. Standing behind the Rally Barricade now also provides the following weapon buffs: plus 30 stability, plus 10 range, minus 50 flinch. That is huge. Oh, man. That's gonna... plus 10 range, plus 30 stability, minus 50 flinch. You get a sniper with no distraction, and you got your anti-flinch mod on. That'll be interesting. All barricades. Currently, certain fast-moving abilities allow you to speed through an enemy barricade while taking minimal damage. The goal of this change is to make players think twice before dashing through a barricade to engage the Titan on the other side. Barricades still can't cause lethal damage, but dashing through one now always leaves you with a sliver of health. Players moving at high velocity now take more damage when moving through hostile Titan barricades. Barricades now slightly protrude into the ground to better protect the Titan's feet on uneven ground. This should reduce instances where explosions and projectiles are able to sneak through the bottom of the barricade and hit the Titan. Why are we buffing Titans so much? This makes me uncomfortable. Behemoth. As you may remember, midway through last season, we released a portion of the stasis-related changes originally intended for this releasing. For this releasing? That's a weird, is that a word or is that a typo? We're pretty happy with the effect those changes have had on the Crucible, but some of the changes we made had a negative effect on the feel of stasis and PvE content. We've made some adjustments that should help these abilities feel better. In this case, the Cryoclasm changes we made last season made it difficult to use Cryoclasm to shatter targets that were close to you. This change enables the Behemoth to shatter nearby targets even if they don't have enough space to get a running start. We also believe we overdid the movement speed nerf to Behemoths last season, which hurt the viability of Shiver Strike, especially during the Glacial Quake Super. We've increased the movement speed to make this feel better. With this patch, we're also fixing a bug where the Whisper of Rhyme overshield wasn't properly scaling precision damage, causing it to be significantly beefier than intended, which primarily impacted Tectonic Harvest Behemoths. Cryoclasm, while equipped, Base Slide now shatters crystal and frozen enemies. Okay, that's cool. Increased duration of screen effects notifying players that Cryoclasm Long Slide is ready from 1 second to 4.5 seconds. Okay. Shiver Strike, increased movement speed by 25%. Oh, we're going to see more Behemoths. Whisper of Rhyme, fixed the bug where the overshield provided a Whisper of Rhyme was not scaling precision damage correctly. Okay. Titans are getting a lot of love so far. I don't know how I feel about that. Mr. Magix, what's up? Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the Diamond Club. Middle Tree Sunbreaker. We're experiencing a throwing hammer lifespan to allow Titans more time to finish an engagement and still pick up their hammer before it vanishes. We also felt it could deal more damage against orange and yellow bar enemies. Also, the new Uncharged Melee action allows you to throw your hammer point blank at an enemy, which is pretty BA. Throwing hammer. Increased time before a hammer explodes after hitting the ground from 6.5 to 10. Increased damage versus powerful PvE combatants by 50%. That's cool. Top and bottom trees for Striker. Some of the game's melee-based supers are at a bit of a disadvantage in today's sandbox, so we've decided to give a few of them some love. In the future, we'll be looking at ways to reduce the disparity between melee supers and range supers in a more sustainable way. Fists of Havoc increased slam detonation radius by 14%, reduce slam damage fall off, reduce slam attack activation cost from 21 to 18%. Middle Tree Striker. This change will be balanced out by something we haven't mentioned yet. We'll say more about this in a future TWAB. Inertia Override. Increased duration from 4 seconds to 6 seconds. Sliding over an ammo Brit now grants 20% melee energy. Wow. Top Tree Sentinel. The following change refers to the Ward of Dawn bubbles itself and not players inside the bubble. Currently, dropping a Ward of Dawn on top of a boss is a no-brainer because it's so effective. The goal of this change is to reduce the breadth of encounters solved by Ward of Dawn and make burly bubbles a conscious choice by a Titan. Ward of Dawn. Increased damage taken from bosses from 0.25 to 7. Wait, what? How do I read that? So instead of taking reduced damage, you take increased damage? From 0.25 to 7. Oh, it scales with resilience. Okay. Damage taken can scale down to 0.25 based on the owner's resilience stat. Okay. So if you have max resilience, you can get this, but if not, You're out of luck. All right, Hunters, let's go. What we got, baby? Please don't nerf. Please don't nerf us. Please don't nerf us. Please, 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 Bungie. Hunter, Revenant. Last season, we reduced the radiance of the silence freeze. That change has played out well, requiring the Revenant to be more precise with their silence throws. Even now, silence feels like the scarier part of the super, and we want Squall to feel more dangerous. Currently, the Squall Storm is slow enough that you can kind of ignore it or fight until it gets close and then relocate. With this speed change, we want players to prioritize relocating when they see an approaching Squall. Additionally, Squall will now stop when it touches a boss. Which should make it better for single target boss damage. However, there's a known issue where the Squall will not start moving again if the boss moves or dies. We hope the future further improve this behavior in a future release. We feel we hit Withering Blade slightly too hard. I predicted this. I knew they were going to rebuff this. We feel we hit Withering Blade slightly too hard in last season's stasis balancing. The following change should make it slightly easier to land while keeping the damage and slow duration at a reasonable spot. Silence and Squall. Increase Squall movement speed by 20%. Squall Storm now stops when it touches a boss. Withering Blade increase projectile speed and tracking by 10%. That's fair. I think that's fair. I can't hit anybody with my star right now. Top Tree Gunslinger. Okay, what we got? This super has been through a lot. We had intentionally reduced the effective range of 6 shooters several seasons ago to balance it against Bottom Tree Golden Gun. This change was then unintentionally reverted at some point due to an unrelated integration mishap and then later de-reverted. In any case, we're extending the lethal range of this super a little to reduce how often it requires 2 shots to kill in the Crucible. Thank you, Bungie! 6 shooter damage fall off now starts at 25 instead of 20. Thank you. That's one of the most annoying things, to shoot a basic red health Guardian and it takes 2 shots. Arcstrider. As we mentioned previously, melee supers such as Arcstaff are struggling a bit in today's sandbox, where players move extremely fast, weapons hit extremely hard, and ranged supers handily win duels. We've extended the duration and slam range to help alleviate some of Arcstaff's shortcomings, but we'll continue to evaluate super dynamics and search for a solution that doesn't cause power creep. Additionally, Arcstaff needed a little love in high-level PvE content, so we've increased its damage output there. Arcstaff extended passive super duration from 16 seconds to 20, nice. Increased heavy slam detonation radius from 5 to 6 meters, okay, nice. Increased damage versus PvE combatants by 33%, that's huge. You run that with Raiden Flux, you'll be pumping out some serious damage. Top Street Arcstrider, Deadly Reach, increased duration from 8 seconds to 10 seconds. Middle Tree Arcstrider, Lightning Weave, dealing damage with Tempest Strike, now triggers Lightning Weave. Thank you. I don't know why it didn't to begin with. And timer can now be extended by dealing damage with any weapon. Oh, that's cool. Middle Tree Night Stalker. Spectral Blades not only allows its user to go invisible and vanish from radar, but also has one of the highest damage reduction values in the game, as the fantasy of this ability is that of a stealthy assassin and not a stealthy raid boss. We've decided to tone down the damage reduction. Looking at the data, Middle Tree Night Stalker is among the most successful subclasses in the Crucible, so this change feels warranted. Spectral Blades reduce damage reduction during super from 52% to 47%. Reduce additional damage reduction when invisible from 5 to 3%. Okay. I don't really use Middle Tree. Maybe I should. Maybe when we hop on Iron Banner, I'll put Middle Tree Night Stalker on. Warlock. All right, what are they doing to those filthy, dirty book reading warlocks? I kid. Calm down. Don't get your robes in a bunch. Shadebinder. Winter's Wrath is one of the best dueling supers in the game, capable of quickly and easily dispatching other supers. We're okay with that being a strength of the Shadebinder in PvP, but we felt melee supers needed more of a fighting chance against the Shadebinder. Winter's Wrath. Reduce Shatter Pulse damage versus close range supers. Warlock must now freeze and shatter twice to defeat players in Burning Maul, Fist of Havoc, Sentinel, Nova Warp, Arcstaff, or Spectral Blades. Glacial Quake still only requires one shatter to defeat. Okay. Oh, so that's like a passive buff to some of the melee supers. Top Tree Dawnblade. Top Tree Dawnblade is straight up dominant in PvP, so we're taking some measures to make it slightly less so. Celestial Fire will now take a little more accuracy to get full damage. Having access to two back-to-back Icarus dashes gave this subclass too much positioning flexibility, allowing for quick long-distance flanking and evasion. When playing against the Top Tree Dawn, it's hard to know if they have an Icarus dash ready to go, even if you just saw them use one. We're hoping this change makes playing against a TTD more predictable. We want the identity of the Top Tree Dawn to be found in aerial combat, so we're doubling down on Heat Rises. We hope this change makes Heat Rises more accessible to players of all skill levels. Celestial Fire. Reduce tracking cone angle. Arming shape now shrinks over time. Proximity detonation. Okay. Reduce detonation size by 1 meter. Damage fall off increase at short distances. Icarus Dash now provides 1 air dodge every 4 seconds, while under the effects of Heat Rises increase to 2 dodges every 5 seconds. Okay. So they're leaning into the lore, to the intended use of this super. Heat Rises. Increase duration from 10 seconds to 15 seconds. Increase the time extension awarded for air kills with Heat Rises is active. Extension duration differs based on the type of enemy killed. Your location now appears on enemy radar when using Heat Rises. Okay. Your location. So it's instead of, maybe it's like an exact dot. I think in D1 there used to be a thing that like gave you the exact location. It was like a dot on the radar instead of just like a cone. That's probably what it's going to be. That'd be cool if it was. Middle Tree Dawnblade. Like Ward of Dawn, dropping a well on certain bosses is a no-brainer because it's so effective. The goal of the below changes is to reduce the breadth of encounters solved by Well of Radiance and make Burly Wells a conscious choice by the Warlock. Additionally, we like to make Well of Radiance more effective in the Crucible. You will now have more survivability while in the well, and you won't be able to be frozen or slowed by stasis users, making this tree a solid choice when facing off against stasis. Ooh, that is huge. The Well Sword can be frozen and shattered, but it takes multiple freezes and shatters before being destroyed. Well of Radiance. Increase damage taken from bosses. Okay, same thing as a Titan. Scales up with resilience. Increased damage resistance buff versus enemy players from 20% to 40%. Players inside Well of Radiance are now immune to stasis, freeze, and slow. Well Sword can now be frozen and shattered by stasis. Guiding Flame. Increased duration from 7 seconds to 10 seconds. Increased damage buff from 20% to 25%. Bottom Tree Dawnblade. This tree has felt a little lackluster when compared to the Warlock's other options, so we've given it some enhanced functionality, like the Revenant's Shatter Dive, Phoenix Dive can now dive down diagonally in the direction of your choosing. Bottom Tree Dawnblade also has one of the weaker melee attacks in the game. You had to defeat an enemy with the melee impact to cause an explosion. With this new rework, anytime you defeat an enemy who is burning, or defeat an enemy with any of your solar abilities, they'll explode and put a burn on nearby enemies. Yo, pair this with Sunshot in my Warlock cell, my Warmind cell build. Your Charged Melee deals 120 damage and puts a burn on the enemy, meaning you can follow up with another lethal attack and still get the explosion. As a side note, this will be even more effective with the Dawn Chorus exotic helmet. Reduce delay before dive starts. On Phoenix Dive can now input a direction to dive in that direction. Igniting Touch, ability rework. Solar ability kills and kills on burning targets now cause targets to explode and burn other nearby targets who will explode if they die while burning. Middle Tree Stormcaller. These changes should lead to less instances of Chaos Reach, dealing damage to enemies on the other side of a wall. Arc Beam sees high use in the Crucible, in part due to Geomax stabilizers, and is often used as a shutdown super. In future seasons, we'll be looking at Arc Beam to make sure it's not too easy to use in the Crucible. Chaos Reach. Increase beam environment collision size to better match collision size with damage size. Reduce beam damage radius by 20% in PvP. Reduce beam endpoint sphere radius in PvP by 33%. Cool. Bottom Tree Stormcaller. Player feedback and data on Bottom Tree Stormcaller indicates it could use a little love, so we made Arc Soul last a little longer and slightly shorten the time between bursts. Landfall felt a little underwhelming, so we increased the spectacle a bit. It will now fire 5 arc projectiles along the ground in all directions. Cast your super in the middle of a room to electrocute everything around you. That's cool. Arc Soul increased duration from 12 seconds to 13 seconds, increased the fire rate by 10%. Electrostatic Surge now increased sprint speed when allies are near. Landfall now fires 5 arc ground projectiles. Middle Tree Voidwalker. Through a mix of player feedback data and running through some high-level PvE content, we felt the Nova Warp Super needed some attention. Buffing Nova Warp is a dangerous endeavor though, and we'll be monitoring to make sure we didn't overdo it. In PvE, Handheld Supernova was doing a pitiful amount of damage, so we've considerably increased its damage output, especially considering the time and proximity costs they're paying to charge it up and get within range of an enemy. We've also increased the hold time after charging to give you more time to throw it before it vanishes. Nova Warp. Increased damage versus PvE combatants by 73%. Holy cow. No longer slows movement speed while charging. Now detonates on cast. Handheld Supernova. Increased damage versus PvE combatants by 100%. It's double. Increase hold time 2.5 to 3.2 seconds. Yo, Nick, 14 months. Thanks for the resub. Welcome back to the VIP section. Some hype in chat. Phew. We've made some minor changes and bug fixes from this list to avoid bogging down the TWAB any more than we already have for the list. The full list of ability changes, be sure to check out the patch notes when Season 15 launches. While the season changes are focused on balancing the power output of specific abilities, we're hard at work on system level changes that will enable us to create a healthier balance between abilities and gunplay. We hope to share more about these changes in the future later. Wow. Wow. Nick passing out 5 VIP memberships. Thank you, Nick. Let's get some hype.
Let's get some hype in chat. Hey, let's get some hype in chat. Hey, let's get some hype in chat. Hey, let's get some hype in chat. Hey.
Thank you, man. You got gifted a sub from Nick. Be sure to say thank you. Also, be sure to enjoy those emote sub badges and access to the Diamond Club, VIP, Valet Parking, Phazos. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the Diamond Club.
Oh yeah, let's get some hype in chat, baby.
Thank you for 14 months, Nick, and thank you so much for gifting those subs out. All right. Improving the powering up stasis experience. With Beyond Light, Guardians received their first taste of wielding the powers of darkness, as well as a new way to power up subclasses with aspects and fragments. These subclass mods introduced a new way of evolving and growing a subclass, which drastically impacts how the stasis subclass felt. Guardians who use aspects and fragments experience the true power of stasis, whereas those who have not may feel a bit cold toward it. Even worse, many Guardians may not even know of the extended power offered by aspects and fragments, and we wanted to improve that. Starting in Season 15, our Darkness Guide on Europa, the Exo Stranger, will now reveal more information on how to complete the tasks required for earning more stasis power. Guardians who have finished the Beyond Light campaign and visit the Exo Stranger on Europa will see the entire path for unlocking aspects and fragments. Additionally, many of the pre-requirements for obtaining and completing the Born in Darkness quest chain will be reduced or removed. Thank you. I mean, I say thank you, but I already struggled through it. Previously, Guardians needed to complete several quest chains and unlock Salvation's grip before stasis will grant them additional power. Guardians that completed the Beyond Light campaign will have immediate access to the Born in Darkness quest chain from the Exo Stranger on Europa. The Exo Stranger also reveals every unknown fragment, regardless of progression through the Born in Darkness questline, giving a preview of the many powers to unlock. With these improvements to messaging aimed at removing a lot of the mystery around powering stasis, we're excited to see more Guardians unlock Stasis's chilling power. That's cool. That's a nice quality of life change for people who still need to unlock some stasis subclasses. All right, the Gauntlet. This year marks 7th anniversary Gauntlet tabletop fundraiser. Raising funds for young women empowered. Bungie will complete a tournament against 20 other local gaming studios. Okay. There's a donation page you can donate to. Oh, you get a cool little emblem. There you go. You're interested in that emblem? Anyone who donates 25 in a single donation will get the emblem. It's a cool little checkered flag emblem. All right, player support, crossplay, names. After last week's announcement about crossplay and Bungie names, we wanted to clarify a few things. The display name of the first platform that players log in with to play Destiny beginning at will become the player's Bungie name. Platform ID standards. Non-standard characters and symbols will be removed and excluded. Okay, that's your Bungie name. For crossplay. Bungie Foundation campaign items. Claim your rewards. Known issues. Movie of the week. What do we got? Flawless Sparrow Run. Flawless Vault of Glass, but Leopard rides a sparrow the entire run? That seems cool. Good job, Leopard. Oh, look, Crystal. Props to FPS Crystal. Winning movie of the week. That's awesome. That's awesome. Artist of the week. Shout out to On Tarum. Elisir, cool art. Warlock art. There you go. And that's the TWAB. Good TWAB. Good TWAB. Very nice. I like the TWAB. The TWAB is good, yes? Myth rats. All right, there you go. Back to gaming.